Hey guys, this is a new project I'm involved with, so if it sounds interesting to you, check it out and let me know what you think. If you're a musician, composer, artist, or songwriter, and you're frustrated by the lack of financial stability in today's music business, and you'd like to know how to start earning a consistent stream of income for the rest of your life, then check out this new free video training called Where the Money's Hiding in the Music Business in 2023. You can find it online at musicreboot.com, and this video shows you how to use your existing music and composing skills to create the financial stability you've always wanted. Hey everybody, this is Craig Garber. Welcome to Everyone Loves Guitar. We got an awesome guest with us today. We got Richie Faulkner from Judas Priest. He's got a new album out, and we'll talk about that. And let me just give a quick shout out to Chip Ruggieri. Chip, thanks for connecting us. I appreciate it. Cliff Note version of Richie. Richie's most well known, of course, as being one of the guitarists in Judas Priest. He replaced KK Downing after he left the band in 2011. Richie has a new project of his own. It's called Elegant Weapons. The band just released their first album. It's called Horns for a Halo. No bullshit. It's a great record. And if this is your first introduction to Richie's playing, which probably isn't if you're listening to this, he's just phenomenal on it. It's like a great representation of what I'd call original, like British heavy metal music from the 80s and 90s, meaning high energy yet melodic songs that you could listen to and hum, and great lyrics and all that kind of like good stuff that we all love. And just to emphasize, this band is not like Richie's version of Judas Priest, so don't be thinking that has nothing to do. It's a great record standing solely on its own merits. And man, you know what? One of the things, and we'll talk about this, your background fills freaking amazing, man. You're like very percussive. It's almost like you're playing drums. Like you'll have two different rhythmic patterns in 2 to 4 measures, and they all match. I don't know. It's phenomenal.
Well, first of all, let me say hello, Craig. Thanks for having me. That was a lot there. Background fills, I kind of don't know. Half the time, I don't know what I'm doing, so I'm just playing whatever, and hopefully it gets perceived in the way that you perceive it. So I'm glad to hear that it gets perceived in a positive way. But no, dude, I just do what I think sounds right, and I'm absolutely sincere. I don't quite know. I don't know scales. I don't know anything like that. I'm not trained like that, so I just do what I think sounds right, and hopefully people like it. So hopefully I'm doing the right thing at the moment. So background fills, I don't know, man. As long as it sounds right, I'll go with that.
Yeah, man, you're doing it right. Trust me. I just want to, if you want to check out some more stuff of Richie's, that's really good. I would encourage you to check out Richie on the track. You've got another thing coming from the Priest DVD, Epitaph, which is actually on Apple Music. He does like literally a 3-minute solo on stage, literally all alone, and it is just amazing, like goosebumps, awesome. So, all right. One of the things, thank you, man, I appreciate that. I watched a number of videos to prepare for this, and one thing that stands out is, man, you genuinely look like you're just having so much fun on stage, man. Like you're smiling ear to ear, and like you do a really good job of sharing that joy with your listeners, and I'd just love to hear your thoughts.
Dude, I'm just incredibly fortunate to be up there. I'm getting away with murder half the time. As I said, I don't really know what I'm doing. So to be up there, they're like, do you want to play a 3-minute long solo on another thing coming? I'm like, yeah, whatever. No, honestly, I mean, I'm playing legendary songs with legendary legends, with literally legends. They shaped the way heavy metal is played and listened to and crafted in our age. To thousands, hundreds of thousands, if not millions of people around the world, beautiful countries. How can you not have a big smile on your face? Again, before Priest, I wasn't doing that. So, to kind of be taken out of, I wasn't doing relatively anything. I was in cover bands. I was in another band, but obscurity, I was just trying to make it work. And then to be plucked out of that and then put on that kind of stage in that situation, I'm not going to get up there and have a sour look on my face. Maybe I am now. I'm kind of bored of it now. I'm only joking. But no, but like, how can you not be completely thrilled every night to be in that situation? Every night's different. Every country's different. The crowds are different. You get familiar faces, but they react in a different way, or the room's different, the sound's different, the guitar. I'm inspired by the guitar every day. So different runs come out, different depending on that energy in the room and the crowd, you come up with different stuff. How can you not be inspired, just grateful to be there? And I mean, in my case, I'm sure we'll get onto it. I'm lucky to be alive. So like, I'm just like grateful to be there, playing, making music, touring the world, talking to you about it. So like, I'm like a pig in shit up there. You know what I mean? How can you not be?
I hear you, but you do a nice job sharing that with people, and you're always like, I watch. You know, it takes effort to go out of your way to connect with people, and you know, you do that, and that's really nice. Not everybody does.
I will say it's effortless. It doesn't take any effort when you're kind of caught up in that situation. It's like a tornado. You're creating an energy that's spinning around, and you're part of it. You're responsible for it with the audience, with the sound. It could go drastically wrong. You're part of that as well. So you're kind of in control of it, but kind of you're in control of this thing that you could drag off the rails. You've got to keep it together, all that sort of stuff. And it's kind of effortless to kind of transmit what you're feeling with the people that are kind of part of it with you. They've got their horns in the air. They're looking at you. They're singing. You're looking at them. How can it not be just like a natural thing for you to be with them? You know, it will take a lot of effort, I think, to kind of look at them and be like, fuck you. That would take a lot of effort, you know, because it's so positive. It's so part of who we are. And fortunately, you know, or hopefully it will continue a long time into the future in some way or form.
Right on. Your dad got you into playing guitar when you were young, like around 7 or 8. Was he a musician also?
Well, fortunately, he did get me into it, yeah. He wasn't a musician in the same sense as I'm not really a musician. I just play guitar. So he played guitar too. He had friends that were in bands. So he had an interest in, you know, Jimi Hendrix and Black Sabbath and Thin Lizzy and stuff like that. Still does. And he passed it on to his kid, which is kind of what you do, you know.
Right.
And they either take to it or they don't, you know. And I took to it, I guess. But so yeah, he's responsible for this mess, you know. And yeah, but he still plays guitar. He's got like a Gibson SG, and he still calls me up and he says, like, listen to this, and he puts the phone down on the amplifier and plays me these riffs, and I steal them and they end up on the Priest record. And no, I'm only kidding.
But I'm sure you're giving him credit.
Well, in all sincerity, though, he loves it. He loves playing, and I think that's what drives a lot of us is the guitar and the instrument that we play. I think even if, you know, the people that aren't in bands, we just love to play our instrument, whether it's drums or bass or guitar, or we do it at home. We do it in our spare time. We do it when, you know, if we've got 15 minutes, I'm going to go and play bass for 15 minutes because I fucking love it, or whatever it is, you know, and I think that's the way it should be.
Right.
And I think it's the way that it would be for me. If I wasn't in Priest, I'd be in a cover band somewhere. I've got to get my stuff together because I've got to leave and load my gear in, or I'd be in another band trying to get it together, putting a song together because I love it, you know, and that's the way it was and the way it is and the way it will be.
Absolutely, man. Hey, I'm going to apologize in advance for asking you this question because I know you've told this story like dozens of times, but for people listening who don't know how you wound up connecting with Priest, it's a really fun story. So if you could talk about the missed calls and the emails and all that stuff.
Oh, well, management called me one afternoon and they briefly explained some of the situation and they wanted to meet me and stuff like that.
Guys, today's episode is brought to you by Lewitt Microphones. For a limited time, Lewitt is giving Everyone Loves Guitar listeners 20% off any microphone in their catalog, including their top-end mics. Now, I've been testing this cool-looking Lewitt LCT 440 Pure for the last few months, and it's outstanding. And if you go to everyonelovesguitar.com/Lewitt, you can see my review of this microphone, as well as some other professional recording artists' reviews of 2 of Lewitt's most popular microphones, as well as get your 20% discount code. The mics come with a 30-day guarantee and a 1-year warranty, so there's absolutely no risk involved here. Just go to everyonelovesguitar.com/Lewitt, Lewitt, to get your discount code and to check out some short videos with in-depth information to see what recording and performing with Lewitt mics is like.
And so they told me that they'd sent me some emails and stuff like that. So when I got off the phone, I checked my inbox. And I didn't find any emails in there. So I checked the deleted folder, and there they were. So I'd obviously got these emails at some point, and I thought they would just mail out from. I didn't know the name of the management company. Obviously, they were about Judas Priest, so it was a name I didn't recognize, about Judas Priest. So I thought it was a mail out from, Metal Hammer, or just one of the. If I
sure, some
yeah,
marketing.
So I just deleted them. So I opened the emails, and there was the emails, and there were two of them about a week apart. So they were fairly persistent, fortunately enough for me, and they called me as well. So
Yeah.
I was very fortunate. But they got, first of all, they got the number for. I always remember thinking, if for some reason, Priest get a new guitar player, fantastic. That's a shame KK quit. They've got a new guy. They're going out on tour. And for some reason, I checked my deleted folder for some reason, and I read those emails and found out after the fact that they were trying to get hold of me. That would have been quite the.
How crazy is
bummer,
that?
But it didn't happen that way. But fortunately, as I said, they were persistent. They gave me a call. I had to borrow the money for the train fare to get up to. I went up to Glenn's house to meet management, Glenn and Rob, and talk about a few things and quote unquote audition. Right. But I had to borrow the money for the train fare. I didn't have the money to get up there, so I had to borrow the money from my mother. Thanks, Mum. And the rest is history, and here we are talking today.
Yeah, man, that's awesome. What a great story.
Thank
Congratulations. You. How do you look at stuff like that when that happens? Do you look at that as just like random, or like good luck, or are you a spiritual guy? Is there like, a higher power for you? How do you look at serendipity like that?
No, man, I think it's just it's the way life happens sometimes. Opportunities come and go, and you're either ready for them or you're not, and I don't think you ever know what opportunities you've missed. You rarely get to find out the ones you've missed. The opportunities that you get, and you don't, you try out for the opportunities and you don't get them, that's fine, you know those. But the opportunities you don't even get, you don't know about those, if you know what I mean. So I played a lot. I played a lot live. I wanted to be, if one of those opportunities came about, I wanted to be ready for it. But at the same time, you don't think an opportunity like that's going to come about. But you aspire to be as good as those guys, but you don't think those guys are going to call you. It's just a level, it's a standard that you want to meet. In case an opportunity comes along, you want to be ready for it. So. And I was just incredibly fortunate. The opportunity came by. I was ready. I was confident. I don't think I was arrogant in any way. I think they would have smelt that a mile off, arrogance and stuff like that. But I think I was confident. I knew I had a shot. And so I gave it 1,000%, and it seemed to be the best approach. And here we are.
Here we are, man. Again,
Thank
congratulations.
You.
That's so cool. You actually worked with the actor Christopher Lee, doing arrangements for one of his heavy metal records. How did, when you think of British, aristocracy, royalty actors, he's one of those guys. You don't think, oh, heavy metal at the same time. What the hell was that experience like?
That was incredible.
Really?
I only met him once or twice. Sir Christopher,
Yeah, right.
It came about through a contact that I had that played. He was a drummer that played on the first record that he did, and he wanted to do another record. And they had all this music mapped out for like an orchestra. So there was like violins and cellos, and they wanted it arranged so it could be played on a festival stage, for example. So it could be played by a metal band with bass and guitar and drums. So the songs were there, the song structures were there, and the melodies and stuff. But I had to come up with like guitar parts and riffs and drum parts and stuff like that. So it was a great experience. These people were great. Sir Christopher was great, and I didn't get to play on the record, so I played all the demos and everything like that and sent it off. And then Priest called me, and I had to go and do that. So I didn't get a chance to play on anything. But it was great to talk to Sir Christopher, and he was a guy. obviously he was from a different generation, so he had a different,
Totally.
different views on things, and it was refreshing really to speak to someone with such a vast, because we get so caught up in the moment and the way things are, but he had time, and things that had happened a few times before, and he'd seen things come and go, and he knew the outcome of things, and he knew that this is the outcome of things because I've seen it time and time again. And he had that kind of experience, and I don't know what the word is with him, grace, and just authority, and just
He's so authoritative when he speaks. It's like you fucking sit up and
fantastic
listen.
guy to meet. And again, very grateful and fortunate to have met him, and his people, as I said, were fantastic.
That's awesome, man. Richie, what would you say the top 3 musical experiences you've had so far?
I would say, off the top of my head, recording the Firepower record was probably, I remember actually saying it at the time, it's probably the best experience I've had recording a record, and probably will ever be again. Like, there'll be other records that I record that will be great, but that one, the timing of it, when it was being recorded, it felt great. There was a good vibe. It was spring in the UK. The lambs were out in the fields. I don't know. It was everything. Yeah, man. It was just. I don't know. It was just perfect. And the further you get from it, the more that memory becomes more magical. And that's the way our brains work. It becomes more romantic. Yeah. But it was just. It sounded great. The songs were working great. We had a great production team with Andy and Tom Allen. So that was one of them. I think another one was probably my second show with Priest was at Sweden Rock in 2011. It was our first big show. We had our first show was a warm-up show in Holland, and I think it was about 3,000 or 4,000 people. Second show was a big one. It was 30,000, and Rob drove the Harley down the ego ramp out into the crowd, and it was raining. So if you can imagine Rob at the end of it, I'm standing behind him on stage. Rob's at the front of the ego ramp, almost silhouetted by the spotlights on him, and it was raining. The lights were flashing on the bike. There was smoke everywhere from the bike, and he had his horns in the air, and there were 30,000 people with their horns coming back at him. And just like the rain and the metal god and 30,000 people and the lights and the smoke, and I'm thinking, it was unreal, but very real at the same time. And it was magical because I can't show you the picture. It's in my head and it's in our heads on stage.
Yeah.
It's mine and ours, and I can only share it with you like this, and that's what makes it magical.
That's so cool.
Again, it's one of those things. That's the second thing that, like, I can't show you on Instagram, and it's more valuable for that. Maybe there's a theme here.
Oh man, are you kidding me? It's much more valuable. I mean, I got a weird. I don't know. I had a guest on the show one time, and he said, the thing about social media is everybody leaves the actual real reels of their life is on the floor, a tape cut. You never see, there's always like some showy aspect.
1,000%.
It's not real. 1,000%. Yeah.
The third one.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's hard to pick like just 3 because I'm probably leaving some out, and I'll probably have to call you up after this and say, I missed one. I do remember. There was a time I was in a pub in Camden Town, and I'd had a few shandies, and I was playing a Les Paul and playing covers, and I remember looking up, and the whole pub that I was playing in was looking at me, and they were transfixed on what I was doing, and I remember thinking, I can do this,
yeah.
Because everyone in the place was watching what I was doing, and I had a realization that, okay, I must be doing something right, So that was something I remember. If that counts as one of those, so that's definitely 3.
Yeah, man. Dude, you're a deep cat. You got some good shit going on.
Oh, dude, we could talk for hours, man. Trust me.
It's so funny when you said shandy. I haven't heard that since last time I was in
Yeah,
England
man.
with my wife.
I like it. I like it, Sam.
That's not a thing here. That's not a thing here, as you know. Was there ever any kind of like specific moment or experience that was critical in your decision to pursue music?
There's been a few of them. There's been a few, probably both positive and negative at the time. You know, it's sometimes it's the things that seem the worst. They're the things that make you realize, oh no, that's what keeps me going. Really, that. You know, for example, like it's 3 o'clock in the morning. You're loading out Marshall stacks. No one was at the gig. You don't want to do it anymore. Fuck this. I don't want to do it. I hate this. The next day, you're doing exactly the same thing. And so the realization is, I must love this. I'm like, it goes beyond a fad, or, you know, so it's that sort of thing. So there's tons of those kind of moments. Just tons of them. I mean, I think Jimi Hendrix was a realization. I mean, not only for me, I mean, for millions of people around the world, you know, I have to do something like that. What is that? How do I make my life about that? You know, the image of the man, the guitar, the sound, you know, Jimi Hendrix, obviously, and just, I mean, getting your first guitar. But as I said, when things go wrong as well, and when you fix them and you overcome stuff, that kind of makes you think, oh, yeah, you know, I don't know, all those things wrapped up. There's not one moment, I don't think. It's just, you know, you still find those things out. You're still finding things out that make you think, oh, this is... Sometimes I still think, no, fuck this. I don't want to do this. I'm still doing the equivalent of carrying out Marshall speakers at 3 o'clock in the morning. But I'm armed with the knowledge that this is part of my DNA. This is what I do. You know what I mean? And it's that realization that I got back in that pub that that's who I am, and that's why I do this. You know.
That was a great answer, man. Thank you. What prompted you to move to the States?
I don't remember. I think I don't remember. I saw the question on the sheet, and I'm thinking I was trying to remember what it was. I think, like anything, it's not usually one reason. It's usually something that's a handful of reasons that just make sense. It's I've always been in a fortunate position where I can kind of go with the flow to some degree. I wanted to. It just made sense at the time. I had friends there, or there were opportunities there at the time, or there was, you know, just like the circles I was moving in at the time. I remember I was in the Caribbean a lot at the time, so I was going between the Caribbean, the States. We had some stuff going on, record labels in New York, so I'd go between there. I was dating a girl in Philly, and then I'd go down to the Caribbean, then back to the UK. So it was just a circle I was moving in. And I ended up in Florida, because Florida was where all the kids went when we were kids. They'd come back from summer vacation with pictures of palm trees and boats and waterways. That was in Disney World rather. That was like the promised land, you know. So I think to me as a kid, Florida was the promised land. That was like, goodness me, that, you know. So I was drawn to that kind of thing. So there was no.
You know, the east coast of Florida is like one of the most heavily populated areas in the country.
It is. Yeah, I don't know if that's why. But I'll tell you what it was as well. Back when I was a kid, remember Ninja Turtles?
Yeah.
Ninja Turtles came out, and they were called Teenage Mutant Hero Turtles in the UK. I don't know if you know that, because
No, I didn't know that.
Apparently ninja was a bad word. You couldn't use ninja.
Non-BBC
Yeah, exactly
approved.
that, right? So they were called Hero Turtles. You couldn't get them for love nor money in the UK. So the rich kids would go to Florida, buy them, and then bring them back. So again, Florida was like, you could go to Florida and buy Ninja Turtles. So again, that was another. If I go to America, I can get Ninja Turtles, a boat on the water with palm trees at Disney World. I'm going there. You know, so that's kind of the thought process, I think.
Totally get it, man. Outside of the large food portions we have here, were there like any cultural adjustments you had to make? Or things you had to get used to that were weird,
the language,
or different?
You guys don't speak English properly, but apart from that,
of course,
I have to tailor. it's ironic because it is English, but you guys don't speak it. But apart from that, no, I love the US. It's a beautiful place, beautiful people, and I have a better relationship with the UK when I'm not there as much. It's like I love New York City, but the longer I'm there, the more stressed I get. So I love New York City when I'm there for a few days and leave. Yeah. It's the same with the UK. If I'm there, if I live in the UK and it rains for 6 months, I hate it. I'm living there. I have to deal with it every day. If I travel to the UK and I don't live there, it can rain for a year. I love it. It's beautiful. I'm leaving. I don't live there. It's a different mindset. So I have a better relationship with the UK the less I'm there. So yeah. But I love this. I love the States. My daughter, she was born here, and so yeah, I love it. There's no big change really.
Awesome. It's a big thing though. The sunshine. When I went to the UK. Not the first time, the second time it was typical British weather, and I found myself down, and I realized one day it was because there's no sunshine.
When you're in the UK, you spend your life looking for the sun. You're trying to find the sun. It's all about the sun. When you get to the US, it's about getting out the fucking sun.
Yeah.
The air conditioning. And I never quite understood that concept. So maybe that's something I've needed to get used to. I didn't understand that. People were trying to, it's too much sun, it's too hot. And I'm like, you're out of your mind. But when you get here, and, it's, especially places like Florida and places like that, we live in Tennessee. So Tennessee's the same with the humidity and stuff like that. So you spend half the year trying to get out of the sun and into the air conditioning. So that's something I've had to deal with. But I like the humidity. It's good for my skin.
Richie, what were some low points or dark periods you had to deal with in life, and how'd you get through them?
That's a good question. I've been very fortunate, or I'm very blinkered. I don't know which one it is. I haven't had many, or if there have been, I'm kind of, I can see the good in things, the dark time recently. I had a bit of a health thing recently, and that was pretty dark for a while. But I dealt with it. It got dark because I felt like it wasn't fair. I didn't feel like I deserved it. But that's not how life is. But sometimes you don't think like that in the moment. Sometimes you feel like it's all happening. It's a surgery. It's bad luck. Woe is me. Sometimes that happens and you don't think rationally. And I just thought, this isn't fair. But, I kind of came out of it pretty quick. I rationalize things usually pretty quickly. So if it gets dark, I can usually rationalize it and get out of it pretty quickly. So fortunately, I'm a pretty optimistic person. At least I'm a realistic person. So if it's dark, I can usually see the reality in things and try to make good out of it, hopefully.
Yeah. How are you feeling? You're a young guy to have all that shit. And Richie had some heart. I mean, you could read it online. His fucking heart exploded.
Well, basically. I'm feeling all right. I'm a bit pissed off with all these fucking interviews. No, excuse my French. I don't. I'm only
sorry, man. No, it's good. Listen. I get it. I'm sorry. I get it.
But I'm.
It's good.
I'm feeling all right. There's a few things I have to deal with, as you would expect. But I've said it before. I'm very fortunate in relation to other people that go through a lot worse. People lose limbs in accidents. They lose their eyes in certain. I have to watch my diet. I have to take medication. There's a couple of things I have to go through. Occupational therapy and stuff like that every now and again. I'm very fortunate that that's all I have to do. Compared to some people. So to be talking to you about music and releasing records and touring and Priest, I'm a very lucky guy just to make it through it, but to be still here talking to you about it, that's a bonus, man. In all sincerity, sure. I know I'm joking about the interviews. I'd rather be doing the interviews than 6 feet under. Put it that way.
Yeah. All right. Probably just right above being 6 feet under. So let's talk about Elegant Weapons and the new album, Horns for a Halo, before we get into your gear a little bit. So band members are yourself, Ronnie Romero on vocals, and let me tell you, man, that took me back to listening to that. When I first put the first track on, I was like, wait a minute. I felt like I was listening to like Ronnie James Dio back in the day or something. He's got a hell of a voice, that guy. Kind of like Dio or Klaus Meine from Scorpions. You got Dave Rimmer from Uriah Heep on bass, and you guys used to play together as kids, and Christopher Williams from Accept on drums. I'm excited. I'm assuming that you're really excited about this.
Absolutely, man. These guys are, first and foremost, my friends. They just happen to be phenomenal musicians. Davey, as you mentioned, I mean, we used to play the bars and clubs around London and England together, over 20 years ago. He got the gig in Uriah Heep just after I got the gig in Priest. So, man, it was a no-brainer. I've always wanted to be in a band again with Davey. And again, carrying on the legacy from the bands that we're in now, hopefully we can take the torch into the future. And Davey was just a no-brainer. Christopher as well. And as you said about Ronnie, no-brainer. He's got that classic voice, but it's 2023. He's a modern singer of today, but he contains that influence, which I don't think we should be ashamed of. Like, that's who we are. That's where we come from musically.
Yeah,
we're proud of that influence. We know it's 2023. We're not trying to do anything retro. We're just doing what we do and who we are. And I think to do anything different is disingenuous. This is who we are. These are our influences. Hopefully, we can get something unique out of the four characters coming together moving forward. And so Ronnie was a no-brainer as well. He's fantastic. He's a fantastic singer, fantastic frontman. And yeah, it will be interesting to see. I think there's more of Ronnie. I think he would agree with this as well. On this record, on these songs, I think there's more Ronnie Romero coming out, and hopefully there's more of that coming out in the future with Ronnie.
Great. I want to talk about some of my favorite songs on the record. Opening track, Blind Leading the Blind. Great rock anthem. So some of the lyrics, I was curious. Stop listening to all the voices in your head. Who are the voices? Or what are the voices?
Who said that?
What's that all about?
No, well, it's, basically the song is about, I think we can all relate to, a control figure, an authority figure, whether it's, at work or in politics or religion or whatever it may be, that might not have an idea about what they're doing. Sometimes that works, sometimes it doesn't. So stop listening to the voices in your head. I think it's a reference to, you know the truth. You know what you got to do sometimes, and it's not what that person's saying. It's what you know to be true in your heart, and pursue that. Sometimes these authority figures do get it wrong, and it's go with what your heart's telling you. That's basically what that is. We know we have the answers sometimes, and sometimes we're wrong as well. But go with what your heart's telling you, rather than what the political figure is telling you or the boss is telling you, just because they're in a position of power, really.
Yeah, go with your gut. I agree. Ghost of You is by far my favorite track on the record. I thought it was just a freaking awesome blues track. But I was curious. In the beginning, you do the first solo, short little solo. What effect is on your guitar? Because it sounded really.
I think
cool.
I think on that one, it's a micro chorus, an MXR micro chorus, wound up to. There's one dial on it. It's like the Phase 90, and so the more you turn it, the chorus effect changes, and I think it's almost full, which means it just speeds up. It doesn't get any deeper. It just speeds up. So instead of being like a slow chorus, it's like a quick one. And I think that's what I used on that song. It's almost like a rotary speaker effect. So,
Yeah, like a Leslie, but not
that's exactly it.
Yeah.
It's a chorus, but just put up to 10, so it goes really quick. But that song is another universal theme, really. Ghost of You, love lost, or someone that we've lost in the, like a family member that's passed on, and their memory keeps coming back, and we can't let them go. They're in our thoughts. They're in the next room all the time, or we can see them out the window, or we keep hearing their name, and it's giving me chills at the moment. Talking about we can all relate to that sort of experience, and the song, it's a bluesy kind of feel, as you said, and something that was a bit different, but I thought it was appropriate. I thought it was a strong song.
That's great.
It's a universal theme that we can all relate to. So I thought, let's put it on the record.
Love the track. One of my favorite, definitely my
Thank you,
favorite
man.
track.
Thank you.
I thought it was great. I like the lyrics and everything. Yeah, thank you. Bitter Pill. So this is like, this particular song is a great example about what I was talking about earlier, about how your background fills are so rhythmic. You're using a rhythmic pattern for your fills. You're changing them every other bar, and they just like, they fit in great. And I had a question, but you may have answered. My question was, is that something you've deliberately worked on, or that just evolved naturally as part of your
I think it's a bit of both. I might run through something recording wise, and some of that stuff, I'll do a couple of passes and those things will jump out. So the first time round, it might be this fill. The second time might be slightly different. And, myself or Andy, the producer, might say, do it like that. So the first one, do that fill, the second one, do that one. So it comes out organic, like naturally, usually, but either we'll say do them both the same, or, so it comes from, it's spontaneous, but then if it's something that's good, we'll try and recreate the ideas that come from that spontaneity, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, it totally makes sense. But you're super talented at that, man. It's really enjoyable because, like, I'm listening to that, and as a guitar player, I'm like, how did that get in your head? Which is the mystery of everybody's playing, right? Like, how did you?
I appreciate you saying that, man. Do you know what it is? I think it's, our own limitations. Sincerely, I think it's our own limitations that dictate what we sound like, and everyone's the same. Some things you can't do, so you play based on what you can play, and that's what that is, and that's where it comes from. Is kind of some things you play to your strengths, and sometimes it comes from your weaknesses, and you have to work around your weaknesses, and that sometimes is what makes you unique, hopefully.
Yeah. But when you said earlier, you said like you're not like really you're self-taught basically. That's thousands and thousands and thousands of hours on the neck. I mean, you're flying around there, and I'm not saying this to blow smoke up your ass. You're really, really melodic, and it's hard to find a lot of players that have your speed and your sense of melody.
I appreciate you saying that, man. I mean, melody is I've always been attracted to melody. I've always been attracted to the riff. The riff for me is king. And that's what I've been attracted to over speed, really. And they say 10,000 hours makes you an expert at what you do. And me and Davey,
this is way beyond that. Man.
Me and Davey, as I was saying, we used to play, at least Wednesday to Sunday, maybe Thursday to Sunday. We used to play every night in an Irish bar or a pub, or whatever it was. Every week we used to work a day job, and then we used to turn up at the pub with a guitar or a bass and play 4 or 5 nights a week, or and there was your 10,000 hours, because we loved it. And as I said before, sometimes we hated it, but you keep going back because you're driven by it, and you get your 10,000 hours in. So hopefully, that drive is what earned me those 10,000 hours. But I keep coming back to the melody. That's what spurs me on. I mean, no one's going to sing a million miles an hour solo, but they'll sing a melody or a riff that gives them goosebumps, and they can sing that, and that's what connects us. Even over lyrics. You can write lyrics. I'm not a lyric guy, but you can go to a non-English speaking country like America. I'm only joking. Oh, yeah.
right on. That was clever, man. You got a good sense of humor.
You can go to a non-English speaking country, and people might not understand the words that you're singing, but they will understand the riff that you're playing or the melody that you're playing. Yeah. So that's always been paramount to me, and it's it always has been and always will be.
Yeah,
thank you.
You do a great job of it, man. Lights Out. You covered that UFO track, and that, to me, that song is so powerful that, like, when it comes up on my rotation, just the opening, it's like, shush, everything around me has just got to focus on that. I don't know how long, 8 to 10 minute song on the original, the live record. What made you select that track to cover? It's a fucking great song.
I love UFO. I love Michael Schenker.
Yeah.
I was toying around with a couple of covers at the time, and that one just seemed appropriate. It fit the dynamic of the album, you know, the flow of the record. It seemed to fit in there, right? And it's one of those things where you got to be, when you do a cover, you either there's a line to tread. You either, if you do it exactly the same, there's no point, and if you do it too different, you might as well write your own song. So I thought this was similar enough to the original, but different enough.
No, you did a fantastic job. It's very hard to cover, especially an iconic metal song like that. And you did that was really great. What you said,
I appreciate
you hit that balance.
I mean, it's in a different tuning to the original.
Yeah.
It's a whole step down like the rest of the album, so it's different in that regard. The solos are totally what's the word, improvised. I didn't follow Michael's. I followed his vibe.
You followed his like crescendo, like the flow, but it's not his solo
so
at all.
I tried to get it different enough while still being faithful to the original, which is what I try and do all the time, really.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, with Priest, but it's great. It was great. Gear. I've seen you playing a 3 pickup Les Paul Black Beauty, a white Les Paul, and a variety of Flying V's. And I also saw a photo of you with a black Strat, which was interesting. What's your go-to guitar right now, and what other 2 guitars would round out your top 3?
My number 1 guitar for the last 10 years has been a black Flying V Custom that Gibson made right at the beginning of my tenure with the mighty Judas Priest, and it's what it became over the years. I customized it, and it became my number 1, and it became the Epiphone signature model, which came out in 2017, which has then subsequently become the next signature model that we're going to release with Gibson, which is a blue. I don't know if you've seen it. It's the blue one.
Oh, awesome. No, I haven't. So it's a blue Flying V, but it's a Gibson custom.
We wanted to do a full-blown Gibson.
Cool.
And it's got updated pickups, so the pickups, signature pickups. It's still got the Floyd Rose. It's a beautiful Pelham blue Flying V, and that's a long-winded answer, but I used the prototype for this signature. That was the only guitar I used on this record, the only guitar. I know it sounds like a sales pitch to say that, but it's the truth.
No, it doesn't.
And since I've been, I mean, there's kind of no point having a signature guitar if it doesn't do everything for you. Like, if that's not going to be your main guitar. And it's subsequently become the main guitar with Priest. I've used it as the main guitar last year on the Priest run, and I've been using it for the most part on this guitar as well. The only guitar I've used differently on this album, I'm getting ahead of myself. I've been recording guitars for the second Elegant Weapons album, and
that's awesome.
We've got some time. I've got some ideas. We put the drums down. Why not capture the ideas while you got them?
Yeah.
I'm using an Explorer because is a different tuning, so I'm using an Explorer. But apart from that, to answer your question, it's the prototype for the blue Flying V that we're going to release with Gibson. That's my main go-to. But dude, I love guitars. I love all of them. I've been getting into these Epiphone coronets. There's I don't know if you've seen those. There's a single P90. If you check out the Epiphones are doing great guitars. Again, it sounds, check out epiphone.com for your guitar needs. Well, I've been here a while now, Craig, and I picked up the dude, to my point is, I love guitars, and I'm inspired by the guitar. The guitar is the reason I do it. So,
are you a tall guy?
I'm 4'7". No, I'm 6'2".
No, I thought so because your hands are like grasping around, and I didn't think you played a little thin neck guitar. I thought that was a big thick neck guitar, and your hands are around. I'm like, oh shit, this guy's got to be tall.
It's quite a. I like different necks for different things. Every guitar is different. The Custom's quite a
Yeah.
It's quite normal neck this way, but it's quite thin. It's quite thin.
Oh, it is thin. Interesting.
Because it's based on the original, the black and white Gibson that I mentioned. It's based on that, and it's quite thin. And whenever I play it, it makes me play better. And it's like, okay, well, if it makes you play better, that's the guitar to go to. Even though I like a bass neck,
absolutely.
and, it sounds different. It makes you play different. But when there's something that makes you play better, that's what it is, really. That's what it is.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, man. Craziest experience with a fan you've ever had?
Really? No. No.
Man, the pause on that made
Let me
that.
think. I tell you what, man. It never ceases to amaze me, the passion of the fans in places like South America in general, or Japan, or you turn up at the airport and there's a ton of fans there, and they're not like disrespectful. They're especially like places like Japan, they're asking about your string gauges and like what gauge pick you use, and they know. They're like, are you still using this gauge pick? And it's like, that's crazy shit. Like, I don't even know anymore. Like, ask my tech, because I don't even know what you know. That's so, like, they're so passionate about the band and the genre, and not just us, but like they do that to all the bands that they love. And it's such a dedication and a devotion to the music that they love. That's some stuff, man. I love that stuff. And you go down to South America and they're wild, and they just want to be a part of the band, and they come down. So it's not like, I don't think I could give like one example, but it's just, it never ceases to amaze me, the dedication of these fans in some of these countries, for bands like Priest, and hopefully that never goes away. That's a diplomatic answer for you.
Yeah, what I'm waiting for, the like weird shit, man. What the hell? Come on, tell me something weird. Something weird rock and roll shit had to happen. Like some nutty stuff. Like stuff that you went, you're like, man, I thought I've seen everything, but
as I said before, with the dark stuff, I think I've got an ability to wipe stuff from my memory like that. No. No, honestly, I honestly can't think of anything, so we'll probably have to go with that one.
All right. Top 3 Desert Island discs in no particular order. And I know in the UK it's desert. What I mean is Desert Island CDs, not singles.
Strangers in the Night.
Yeah, that's such a good one.
Volume 4 of Masters of Reality. Maybe volume 4.
Okay. We'll give you a box set. How about a Sabbath box set? Yeah.
Somewhere in Time or Seventh Son of a Seventh Son. I'm going to go with Somewhere.
But.
Fuck. I'm going to go with Somewhere in Time.
All right. Just to go back to your heart surgery, in the aftermath of an experience like that, I know you went through a lot of things about, I mean, I could assume you'd start thinking about things like how you handle stress and family. Have there been any, I know you mentioned you're on meds, have there been any changes that you've had to make or that were influenced by that as a result of that experience? That doesn't have to be anything crazy, just things that you're doing different now that work well.
Do you know I have to watch my intake of greens, which is weird, because my heart was fine. My heart is untouched. It's the plumbing around it that blew up. So they put in a mechanical valve, and in order for blood to go through the valve without a hitch, my blood needs to be thin enough to go through it, but not too thin where if I cut myself I bleed out, and if it gets too thick, it clots. So I need to keep my blood. It's blood management. So if I eat, yeah, I know it's all boring stuff, but I'm telling you because you asked me. Now, so if I eat, you did. You can edit the shit out of this, okay. But like, if I eat greens, it's good. Like broccoli, asparagus, Brussels sprouts, they contain vitamin K, or vitamin K, as we call it in the real world. Vitamin K for you lot.
Right.
Vitamin K thickens your blood. So if it's too thick and I eat too many greens, I get blood clots. There's a problem. So I have to, someone with a quote unquote heart condition, you wouldn't imagine them. I can eat burgers, I can eat steaks, but I can't eat too many greens, which is
you can't eat too much broccoli. Yeah, that's
because it's
not
most
common.
People assume it's the heart itself, but it's not. It's the blood. It's the blood work, really. So that's the main thing I have to watch out for. I can still have a drink. They actually recommend everyone. I mean, I'm no doctor, so don't quote me on this, but they've. Yes,
Dr. Faulkner said.
The Riff Doctor. They actually recommend everyone as it's nothing new either. They've said like a glass of wine a day, a glass of red wine a day actually helps with all that sort of stuff. So I try to stick to that regime.
Yeah, man, you don't want to mess that up.
That's the main thing, really. Meds, watch my blood level. As I said, I go to occupational therapy every now and again. So that's about it. I'm incredibly fortunate that that's all it is. As I said before, a lot of people go through a lot worse. And even with the condition I had, they take 1-2 years to recover. I was back out on the road, rightly or wrongly. I don't know, but it worked for me. After 5 months, I was back out on the road. But it served for me. It was a medicine in itself to get back to touring, get back to normality, get back to who I am. That's that's part of the healing process for me to get back to it and get back on the horse.
Totally get it. Best decision you ever made?
That's a great question. Best decision I ever made, because some of the best decisions haven't become bad ones yet. I said earlier on, I'm a realist, and that's a real thing. So that it works both ways.
Some of the best decisions haven't gone bad yet.
The worst decisions as well. Sometimes they become good ones. So it goes both ways. So it's hard to say. So the best decisions I've made so far, having a baby. Best decision. I remember I quit. I quit. One of those moments where I was carrying Marshalls out at 3 o'clock in the morning. I quit. I quit the band. I'm not doing this. And the week later, I decided to join again. So that was a good decision. There's been tons of them. But as I said, like, you never know if they're good or bad. Good decisions become bad decisions, and then the bad ones become good ones. So you never quite know what they are. They can evolve and devolve and evolve. They're constantly evolving, so you never quite know.
Yeah, man. I have this saying: you can't connect the dots.
You never know. It's only looking back. I mean, if I'd have died, if I'd have died on stage in Kentucky, someone could have said joining Judas Priest was the worst decision I ever made. Someone could have said that. Someone could have said, if I hadn't have joined Judas Priest, maybe I wouldn't have been on tour. Maybe that wouldn't have happened. But at the time, joining Judas Priest was the best decision I ever made. But so it's all relative. So it's hard for me to say. We should have. Go on.
You know what?
Well, I'm saying we could have hours worth of these conversations. We could just go, we have some glasses of wine prescribed by the Riff Doctor, and then just go off in one of these conversations.
Of course.
But that's what I was going
What
to say.
I was thinking when you were talking is you sounded like Michael Caine speaking in some role that he has. Because you were going, the way you were going back and forth like that, your voice just sounded like Michael Caine's, the actor.
That's really funny. You're only supposed to blow the bloody doors off or something like that.
Yeah, right. Yeah, you sounded just like him, man. This is a tough one. What do you like most about yourself?
I don't really think like that. No.
No,
I mean, there's some people that do. I mean, it seems to be the general trend. I mean, if you go on social media, I mean, there's. But then I think they're covering up for something because they don't like themselves. So they're covering up for something. You know, what do I like?
Yeah, totally.
What
Insecurity.
do I like about myself? I don't know. I find that hard to answer. I can't answer that. I don't really know how to answer that, to be honest with you.
Well, if you had to answer, what do you think you would say?
I've got a beautiful ring that my daughter bought for me for Christmas, and it says "Dad" on it. I like that. I like that. I'm going to go with that.
That's awesome. Yeah, that's not happiest moment or happiest time in your life.
There's been a few of those. I mean, the boring one is the one but it's boring for a reason. When your baby pops out and you meet your baby for the first time, that's like. That's happy on another level. Like happiness is fleeting, you know, but that's another level of joy, you know. When you look at your baby and she's screaming and hollering and but it's the most beautiful thing ever. I'd say it has to be that. How can that be topped? I mean, there's tons of them which are happy moments. I remember the moment when I knew I was probably going to be all right. Like,
when after you got sick. Yeah. Wow, that had to be like huge.
Yeah.
Very relieving.
So
yeah,
there's been a few of them. I mean, I was obviously getting, you know, on the music stuff. I remember I was in Glenn's kitchen about a week after I met them. I went back up there, and I thought this is a positive thing because I wouldn't be going back if they were to tell me that I wasn't getting the gig. So I was quietly optimistic,
right? Yeah.
And I was in Glenn's kitchen, and we had a cup of tea, and he said, "The gig's yours if you want it." And I was like, he said, "Do you want it?" And I went, "Yes." And I was happy about that. You know, so that's a happy moment. It was,
yeah.
You know, it was one of the, as I said to you, one of those sort of opportunities that you aspire to be ready for, but you don't think they're actually going to happen, and there it was happening. So,
it's such a good story, man. You have any hobbies outside of music?
Yeah, I paint Warhammer 40K. I don't know if you know what that is. It's a bit of a geeky hobby to have, but you know, I'm in Judas Priest, so it shouldn't really matter. There's small plastic soldiers, the Space Marines, and it's wargaming.
Okay.
So you paint them into the faction that you choose, and they all have their own attributes and traits, and they do different things. And then you sit down with a bunch of mates with a few beers and, you know, cooked meats or whatever, and you play war games, and that's basically it. So I paint. So I sit down, put on like a soundtrack like Blade Runner or Seventh Son of a Seventh Son, and paint these little fucking Space Marines. I do that. I collect guitar amplifiers and pedals and guitars. I write and record a lot of music all the time. It's a hobby of mine. The guitar is it's everything. So that comes under the hobby banner as well. Always looking at reverb.com, trying to find.
That's
I
like a
knew
crack.
you'd appreciate
Man,
that with the guitars on the wall.
Yeah.
You know, if you ever wake up at like 3 o'clock in the morning to have a piss, man. You know, you go back to bed, check your phone, check Reverb, just in case anything's come on there. You know, I never know.
What are you looking for next?
Yeah. Say again.
How big is your collection?
I've no idea.
How big is your guitar collection?
I don't know. I've got some here. I've got some in the UK. With Priest, we have 2 rigs. So we've got an A rig and a B rig. So I've got some on the A rig, some on the B rig. Don't know where they are. They're scattered everywhere. So it's not any more. I'm not one of these people that have like 100 guitars. I mean, it's no more than 50, and that's a foot. You know.
No, but I don't have 100. It's no more than 50.
I'm sure
That's great.
A plumber has got more than 50 wrenches. You know, that's quite a conservative amount for a professional guitar player. You know, if I said 100 guitars for the guitar player in Judas Priest, I think you'd think, yeah, okay, that's fair enough. But you know, so
no,
I don't think it's any more than 50. But I just don't know where they are. So I don't know how many there are.
Right. The funny thing is, whenever I ask that question and this kind of topic comes up, everybody answers as if you're like explaining this to your wife. Well, it's not unreasonable, and no, it's just everybody.
You know, my other half.
That. It's a very funny
I don't know
thing.
if you know this. My other half's father is George Lynch, so she's grown up with this. This is her life. This is her world. She's been around this longer than I have, so I don't have to explain any of it. I've got, I think it's 4 white Marshall stacks in the rec room, and I was going to move them out to the studio. She's like, no, leave them in here. They look good in here. So she's the one. You know what I mean? She gets it, man.
Yeah,
so,
she's the one you want.
Yeah, I don't have to explain any of that stuff. I read a thing once that made me laugh. It's, I think some guy was going through some domestic stuff with his wife, and she sold his guitars, but that wasn't the worst of it. It was that she sold them for what he told her he bought them for.
Oh my God.
Well done, man. You know, so I thought that was hilarious. Yeah.
Wow, that is hilarious. Holy shit. Toughest decision you've had to make, Richie, or most difficult thing you had to do?
These are tough questions. Oh man. Dude. Do you know the first thing that comes to mind, and this is in the nature of the question. So I hate to get morose about it and dark, but it's in the nature of the question. It's not going to be a happy answer, is it? But I have vague memories of having to sign away. I had to make a couple of signatures before I went into the operating theatre. Yeah.
Oh, shit.
The nurses were crying.
Wow.
Dude.
That's fucking
I had
heavy.
to call my parents. You know, I was in Kentucky. My parents were in England. It was 1 o'clock in the morning here, so it was 6, 7 o'clock in the morning in the UK. My other half was crying. Nurses were crying. I had to make signatures because there was a chance that, so decisions like that.
Yeah.
Luckily, I was under so much medication. But you could still sense the severity of that decision. They're signatures that kind of they're not checks that you're writing for someone that they might steal your money or whatever. They're things that they have bigger meaning. So they're signatures that mean that if this happens. So so if this happens, you're not coming out, and it doesn't matter how much medication you're on, your brain knows that, and you remember that stuff. And not only for me, but for your loved ones around you that are there at the time, they're going through that shit as well.
Yeah.
So that's some shit, man. That's some stuff. So for me, anyway.
Yeah,
so I'd say that.
Wow. Thank you, man. Thank you. Appreciate that.
Fuck.
Last question. And I didn't have this in there. What's been the biggest change over the last 10 years for you in your life, as far as your personality changes, let's say, and has that come from something intentional or just a natural part of aging?
I think it's a great question again. I think obviously your life changes with something like Priest. You know, Priest calls you, you get the gig in Priest, your life changes within a month. You're on tour with one of the biggest bands in the world. Your life changes and you do your best to keep up with it. And I think everything you've gone through up until that point determines how you deal with it. You can't really, you can learn stuff on the way, but I think everything you've gone through, I think, is it Metallica's album, the 72 Seasons thing? Like, you learn everything you learn up until your 18th birthday, then you're formed as a person. So I think how you deal with that is based upon how you've lived your life up until that point. You know, so when a life-changing event like that comes with Priest, hopefully you've learned enough about yourself and the industry and life to be able to deal with that kind of change. And then subsequently, you can take in all the lessons around you from Rob, from Glenn, from Ian, from Scott, from the management, from the fans, from the experiences that you can share, you can learn from, and try not to take any of it for granted. So how have I changed? I think fundamentally I'm still the same person, I think, fundamentally, but obviously you can't help but be influenced by these things that happen around you. I think the main thing, initially you're focused on your performance, the guitar, the notes, the songs, and then as you grow through that process, it's more about the bigger picture. So what are we doing to create a bigger performance, a better album, a better experience, a better stage show for the fans that put the band there for the last 50 years and welcomed me for the last 12. I think it becomes more about that. That's I'd say that. As I'm talking to you, that's what it is. It becomes less insular, and it needs to be insular. It needs to be, you don't become, like you were talking about, you don't become the expert at your craft, hopefully, if you're not that insular. You know, if you don't have that passion that drives you to be that anal, that, you know, you're sitting awake at 4 o'clock in the morning learning manic depression, or, you know, whatever it is song you're learning, you've got to be that focused. Everyone's out at the bar, you're you know, in your bedroom playing Eruption. You've got to be that way. But then it gets to the point where, because of that focus, you get the gig in the first place. Now it becomes about, what are we doing? How do we make it bigger, better, louder, the experience, but all that sort of stuff. So that definitely changes, and hopefully that goes into the future with the new band. And obviously Priest is still going, so that becomes part of the journey and part of the mindset moving forward. So I'd say that for sure.
Dude, I really appreciate you've been so open,
cool, man.
and so cool. It's really nice to talk to you, man. Thank you for everything. Do you miss selling sausages?
You got a job? What are the hours?
By the beach. Hey man, let's I would love everybody to check out the new record. It's Elegant Weapons is the name of the band, Horns for a Halo. It's a wonderful record, and again, if you're not familiar with Richie's playing, which I'm pretty sure everybody is, this is a phenomenal guy, great guitar player. I mean, he's just super talented, extremely melodic, and extremely humble, as you've heard. The band will be going out June and July in Europe. So for you guys listening in Europe, please go to the shows. All the show information is on the website or all the social media, Instagram and Facebook. And I think Richie said Priest will be going out in some UK dates, March of next year, but there's a bunch of other stuff I'm sure will be determined and it'll be coming out forthcoming. Dude, any final words of wisdom?
Have a good time all the time. No, I think it was
Who said that?
It wasn't Mick Shrimpton, was it? It was the keyboard player in Spinal Tap. I think Mick Shrimpton was the drummer. Right. I can't remember the keyboard player. No, man, I just do. I can say this because I've been there. Like, if you've got an album to write or a book to write or something to do it, because you never know what's around the corner. You know. You never. Life's short, so live it.
Life is short, man. Right on. Richie, thank you very much for everything. Hang on one second. I'm just going to sign off, and then we can wrap up. Thank you so much for your time. I wish you nothing but great health. I hope everything goes well for you, and I wish you a lot of success and luck with the new project.
Thank you, Craig. Thanks for your support, man.
Everything else you got going on, man. And thank you for your time. Yeah, of course. Hang on one second. Everybody, thank you so much for listening. If you enjoyed this, share it on your socials with your friends. We appreciate your support. Thanks very much to Richie Faulkner, and best of luck to him and everything he's doing. And most important, guys, remember that happiness is a choice, so choose wisely. Be nice, go play a guitar, and have fun. Until next time, peace and love, everybody. I am out.